And finally, for Memorial Day, we leave you with a story about a veteran who is still an active pilot, one of the few active pilots who trained in B-25s as a young man. I got to ride along as he took the controls of a B-25 again after decades away from that cockpit. For Sid Eldner, seeing this B-25 is like reacquainting with an old friend.
I want to see if the chewing gum that I put on this plane in 1956 is still there. It tastes pretty good, still minty.
Today, Sid is flying a B-25 for the first time in 61 years. We start with a brief by B-25 Panchito flight instructor Calvin Peacock.
It's always coming down, keep the power in, and then a normal flare. Do the long blade down.
From there, we load up for the flight over Delaware. Sid starts in the jump seat while I lurch the stubborn B-25 down the taxiway. I fly first, working to renew currency for the second-in-command type rating I earned nearly 2 years ago flying Panchito. I make 2 takeoffs and landings before switching with Sid. As instructed, he pushes the nose over right after takeoff, allowing the speed to build to the safe single-engine speed before pitching back up to a climb. After a few maneuvers, Sid lines up Panchito for a long final, bringing it in for a steep approach, as he remembered doing during his Air Force days. With some coaching from Calvin, he rounds out and sets the aging bomber down, flying the nose gear down to touchdown right near the center line. What do you think? Did it come back?
Not as much as I would have liked, but it came back. Sitting up there, though, towards the end, started to feel comfortable.
Sid's training started in a J-3 Cub at Bartow Air Base, but he then quickly graduated to the T-6.
We thought that was the cat's pajamas.
He trained in B-25s at Vance Air Force Base in the mid-1950s.
Of all the airplanes that I've flown, that was really the best.
It's likely he flew this very airplane in his training days. It was also based at Vance in the 50s. Sid left the military in 1957, but didn't leave his friendships behind.
There's something about flying relationships that you end up with friends for a lifetime, and it's a very unusual kind of relationship. We saw today, one of my buddies even came here to watch this.
The flight in Panchito is something Sid will never forget.
The idea of having flown that airplane for about 200 hours in the military, loving that airplane, and then having the opportunity some 60 years later to get in it and actually be at the controls was just a great experience.
It's also a unique opportunity for the crew that works so hard to keep Panchito flying to honor veterans like Sid.
Not many of the men that were military trained in the B-25 and are still an active pilot today are out there. So this became a big deal for us.
It's special to share it with the people who appreciate it. My daddy always said, share your best with your friends, and I've always tried to remember that. So when I am to the point where I can't get off the rocking chair on my front porch, I don't want anything to be left on my bucket list.
Sidney, it was an absolute pleasure.
It was a real pleasure for me, and you made an old man very happy.
That's good. That's what we're here for.
Really fun to be able to fly with Sid. If you'd like to learn how you can take a flight in Panchito, visit the Delaware Aviation Foundation website.